encouraging.
I must forgive you, sweetie, though you've hurt me ever so much. I must forgive you, sugar, because I need God's loving touch.
Empowering.
We must have patience with our kids, staying in for the long haul. Never saying I give up, but giving them our all.
Uplifting.
We gather today to celebrate, not to shed unhappy tears, but to honor the life that this jewel of a woman lived while she was here.
Inspiring.
So please accept my forgiveness and let's start this thing anew. Because my God has forgiven me, and I must forgive you.
More Than Mere Words, Poetry That Ministers by Grace LaJoy Henderson.
This was her assignment.
The program that is about to air is a paid advertisement which includes real testimonials from individuals who have not been paid in any way for their testimony. They are real people who have volunteered their testimony because they have read More Than Mere Words, Poetry That Ministers, and have truly and sincerely been blessed by it.
Have you ever wished that someone could feel your Christian struggles and not be judgmental towards you? Or have you ever needed just the right word at the right time? Well, today our show is designed to do just that with a book entitled More Than Mere Words, Poetry That Ministers. More Than Mere Words is a collection of powerful, spirit-filled, on-time messages inspired by God through Grace LaJoy Henderson. Many of these writings are designed to speak to real, specific situations with titles such as Being Single and Saved, Don't Leave Your Spouse for Me, I Forgive You, How Do I Let Go, When I Hurt, The Bad But Kids, I Need a Man, and many more. These writings are straightforward, to the point, no cutting corners, keeping it real messages that are easy to read and to understand. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Andrews, and today I'm excited because we have the author and publisher of More Than Mere Words, Poetry That Ministers in our studio. What or who inspired you to write this book?
It was God that inspired me to write the book, but also some of the things that I went through that as a Christian inspired me to write the book, because as a Christian I've went through some things that I was ashamed to talk to anyone about, or that I may not have had anyone to talk to about, and so therefore I would just write. I was also inspired to write the book because in talking to other Christians I realized that they too are going through some of the same things, you know, that I'm going through or that I've been through. And I know that there are times when other Christians don't have anyone to talk to. And so therefore, this book will help them when they're going through trials and tribulations that they can't talk to anyone about. For example, the poem, How Do I Let Go? Now that's a poem that I was going through something and I really needed God to help me to let go. And a lot of people go through situations where they need God to help them to let go. Now, while their situation is different from my situation, they still need God to help them to let go.
Grace, I noticed that you have several different categories of writings in your book.
I have the Issues of the Heart category, and that's actually the category that deals with relationships, whether the relationship is with a family member, a friend, a married couple, a single person. Well, that section ministers to all those type of issues that we as Christians go through. I also have a repentance and confession section, and that section deals with a lot of the issues that we have as we're trying to come closer to God. It also ministers to people who don't know God, who would like to know God.
As I was reading your poem, He's Worth It, on page 22, I was wondering what you were going through when you wrote that poem.
Well, the poem, He's Worth It, I wasn't actually going through anything per se. However, I used to work for the school district, and I worked with children that were dealing with, some behavior issues. And I also worked with their parents. And a lot of the parents that I spoke with, they were frustrated because they had to come to the school, they had to take off work, and they were just, frustrated. A lot of them were ready to give up on their children. And I always found myself telling parents, your child, he's worth it, she's worth it. Your child is worth it. And eventually, I got to the point where I was inspired to write that poem. Just letting parents know that their children are indeed worth it. They're worth all the struggles, they're worth all the pain, they're worth every heartache. They're worth it.
I hear that national motivational speaker Les Brown was touched by one of your poems so much that he actually endorsed your book.
I was scheduled to read a poem at my church, and it just so happened that Les Brown was scheduled to speak at the church on the same day that I was scheduled to read a poem. I read the poem entitled, I Forgive You.
Now, let's hear what Les Brown had to say about your poem, I Forgive You, and what he had to say about your book, More Than Mere Words, Poetry That Ministers.
And she had no idea when she came up and read that poem how much value that poem will have, not only for me, but probably some people in the audience. That poem, it just resonated with my spirit. And I would buy this just for forgiveness. Just for forgiveness. If she had not written this poem the way she wrote it, it would have not been written. No one's going to write this book like this young lady wrote this. This was her assignment.
Wow, with those inspiring words, you must have this book. It is uplifting, it's inspiring, it can help you in your Christian walk.
I am Grace LaJoy Henderson, author and publisher of More Than Mere Words. This book lets us know that we are not alone in our Christian struggles. It offers specific answers to specific issues that we deal with in just our daily walk with God. And I think the best thing about this book is that regardless of who you are, what you're going through, or how long you've been saved, or what stage you are in your Christian walk, there's something in this book for you.
The day that I read More Than Mere Words, it blessed my heart immensely. And as I thought back to the poems that I had read from the book, I knew that God bestowed a great gift upon the author to produce a wonderful work that would touch and change lives worldwide.
I was pleased to have an opportunity to review the book More Than Mere Words, the poetry that ministers by Grace LaJoy Henderson, and it really spoke to me. I was very impressed by the courage that she has in sharing her life and the joys and the pains and how the Lord ministers to her in those times. And whether you share the exact same experiences or not, we all go through joys and pains in our life. And this book was a good reminder that God is always there to minister to us and to speak to us during those times. And I would encourage anyone else to read the book as well. I think it would minister to you.
And in this book, Grace Henderson reaches down within the depth of her soul and pulls out words of inspiration that's good for the man, the woman, the husband, the wife. Everyone in your family will enjoy the reading of this book, More Than Mere Words.
The section that I especially enjoyed was the section on marriage, that with Jim and I just recently being married and all of the time leading up to it and the preparation, it just really spoke to my heart. But I just encourage everyone, especially if you're about to be married, to read it, because she so well captures God's true intention for marriage, for a husband and wife, and how you should move forward in your life together. Thank you, Grace.
The book, More Than Mere Words, Poetry That Ministers, really helped me as a college student. And the poem, Being Single and Saved, ministered to me in a time when I needed it the most.
It's an excellent book. It's exhilarating, it's uplifting, and I enjoyed it. The part I enjoyed the most, the one poem, was Empowered by Christ. And what it done for me, it really actually reaffirmed my ministry. Just knowing that you're in the ministry and knowing that you can do all things through Christ that strengthens you. It's a book that will just, it'll take you to another level.
Wow, Grace, you have touched a lot of people with your book.
I realized that these poems actually minister to the people that read them.
And now we have a clip of someone you wrote a personalized poem for. Let us hear what she has to say.
Hi, my name is Imelda Tolbert, First Lady of Christ Temple Church, and I just thank God for the opportunity to endorse a book that has been a blessing in my life. Over 3 years ago, my husband and I lost our 19-year-old son, and it was a poem that was written by Grace LaJoy Henderson that really uplifted my spirits. In that poem, I was able to reflect back on the things that my son accomplished in his life, reflect back on his personality and all of his achievements. And at times, even today, 3.5 years later, I'm able to take this book and continue to read through it and reinforce the happiness that my son shared with us while here.
Wow, Grace, your book even touched that lady as she was going through something as difficult as one of her loved ones passing. Your book is a special book.
Yes, and that's what the appreciation section is all about.
You need this book. It is an excellent ministering tool, and it also makes a great gift.
That God has gifted this world with a person to put words on paper that are living words, that you can read and you can feel them in your heart, and you can take that and you can give it to someone else, and you can invite them into that world or into that poem that was read. And you can have a wonderful experience reading More Than Mere Words.
In this book, you will also find things that will uplift your spirit, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. And I would recommend this book to anyone.
One of the poems is named A Smile. And in this poem, you can see how important it is to share a smile each day. Another poem that you want to read is I Can Do All Things. Having confidence in God, Grace teaches us what we can do and how we can rely on God to do all things. Poetry that ministers will bless your very soul.
I just wanted to tell Sister Grace, thank you so much for the beautiful poetry and just the way she pours her heart out into every poem that she wrote in More Than Mere Words, poetry that ministers.
Purchase this book, More Than Mere Words, by Grace LaJoy Henderson.
More Than Mere Words, poetry that ministers.